Hey, what's up, guys? Node Investor here. Time for a weekly wrap up after a wild and crazy and turbulence. Normal, no, maybe not normal this time, but it's always crazy in the crypto world. Ladies and gentlemen, glad to have you here today. Hope everyone is having a wonderful Friday. This is my Friday afternoon. It may be Saturday in your time zone, wherever you may be. Always glad to have you. Appreciate you being here. Happy to have everybody. I want to cover a few things. I want to talk about the bounce so far that we're seeing, the low. Is it the low? Some thoughts I want to give on that, and my views on near term, short term, mostly trading for me these last couple of weeks. Hey, Colorado Springs, what's up? And some longer term views, and so we'll go for that. But let's see here. If you haven't already, go to nodeinvestor.com. You can subscribe to newsletters. It is free. And I'm going to cover some of this here today. And if you've already seen this, bear with me. I'm going to go through it pretty quick. But I just want to kind of share my thoughts around this bounce, right? And yes, smash that like button, ladies and gentlemen. And then we'll look at the charts. I want to kind of go through some of the action that I'm seeing. In short term, hey, I'm feeling pretty good, but I'm cautious. We've had a good run. We've made some very nice trades here in the last couple of days, and it's nice. Welcome relief. I think the last time I did a live stream with you guys, we were like, it was the end of the world, and you guys all hung in there with me, so I appreciate that. But real quick, so is this the low, right? That's what everybody wants to know. Is it the bottom? Are we done going down? The short answer is it's way too early to tell. We do not have any confirmation to the upside. However, that doesn't mean don't take positions. That doesn't mean don't start trading. That doesn't mean if you see a nice setup, don't go for it. Because I certainly have been, right? And there's certainly been some really good trades over the last couple of days. So, I mean, off of the lows, this is the 4 hour here on Bittrex, and I'll cycle through some of the other exchanges here. But I mean, just the fact that we were just so stretched to the downside, the extreme levels we saw on all indicators, the FUD, the fear, the peak bearishness that we were seeing already down 70% from the highs, and here at the lows, then I started seeing more and more calls for 1,000 BTC, 3,000 BTC, and all that. And I'm not saying we don't get there, but I wasn't expecting to get there all in one shot, right? I thought, okay, we're getting pretty stretched. We're going to need to bounce here pretty soon. And we did. We finally bounced, started scaling in around 6,200 or so, 6,400, and then just really started taking some trades. And it was just mostly BTC, NEO, some of the big names up until recently. Then I'm a little bit more comfortable trading some of these other names, but we've had a good rally and we've continued to make a series of higher lows. We've kind of climbed this wall of worry so far, and here we are coming today to a key point in the charts, right? We were building this little bit of a overhead. That 8,400 to 8,600 just continues to be that wall that it was selling off, and kind of held through all of this here overnight. Then I saw it bouncing again. And then I thought, okay, this could go two ways. We're going to either make a little bit of a double top or a head and shoulders here, and then this will pull off, or we're going to break out to the upside and test this 80, 86, 87. And we're still trying to do that, but it's looking pretty good. It's looking better. And the reason this level is so important, if you look at the daily chart, we are still living below the 10 EMA on the daily. This downtrend has not been reversed yet long term, right? And so from a long-term holds perspective, it's still too early to say, hey, that was the bottom. It's done. We're going straight up from here, right? It's just way too early to say that. Now, we've had a great bounce, a good tradable bounce, and we still need to break out here a little bit. So if we do break out, the two levels I'm looking at are, the low 9,000 range, 9,200, 9,300, and then above that, close to 10. Anything above that is just going to be a huge resistance point. And I don't expect it to just go straight up. What would be more likely, and what we'll see if we do break out here, we'll see some rally and eventually it's going to fizzle out, and then we'll see some down testing. How deep that second leg goes is going to be really interesting to see if that was the low. What kind of volume do we see? How deep does it go? And is there a lot of buying activity on the pullback? And then we'll go from there. But the thing is, when you see a big pullback like this, it's pretty rare to see straight down and then just straight up and here we go off to the races. That's just not the way the markets work. You're going to see profit taken along the way, and easily, whether it's at this low or a different low, eventually what will happen is you'll get to the point where it's kind of starts going in a range, but it's a little bit choppy, but it starts kind of going sideways, and then that'll set up a good leg to the upside, right? Where that is, when that happens, is yet to be seen. But in the meantime, hey man, there's plenty of good trades to be made. And so here's kind of what I was talking about in my, not that one, sorry, in my the newsletter that I sent out, right? Just the fact that it may not be the low, but we've had some good pumps, right? And so I gave my rationale as to why I thought that was the low for now. RSI hit 25 after coming off of 90, the huge daily volume, the highest we've seen in over 2 years on the low there, you know, the pullback, the fact that we were 35% stretched from the 10 EMA on the daily, that's just significant. And just so many things were lining up, the sentiment readings, everything that odds favored, we were going to see a pretty good bounce pretty soon. Now, the bear case, okay, and so this is why I'm still cautious. If you look at the longer term picture, the downtrend's still there. We still need to break out. And the fact that this consolidation is only 8 weeks short, very small in terms of how markets cycle. And so I mentioned that, and I'm going to make this a separate post on my website just to kind of expand on this. But the fact that this cycle, right, what tends to happen, this is the weekly chart going back to 2014. And you'll have these runs, and then the last run, and keep in mind, the market in 2014 and 2015 is not the same market as today. I mean, back then, the BTC dominance was like 90%. There was just not the ecosystem. Almost everything was on Mount Gox, and that whole debacle killed the market for a lot longer than I expect to see this time. So I do not expect to see a 2-year bear like we saw back here. But we still had this corrective period. And then eventually it found a way to go sideways and created this new accumulation stage. And then we started the next run up, and the first run up is still the wall of worry, right? There's the doubt, the fear. No, this is just a bounce. And then eventually we had the big bull. And then at the end of the bull, I mean, think about it. It went from this whole period, it took years to get to there. And then in the last several weeks, we basically more than doubled that very quickly. And now we're correcting. And the fact that we've only corrected 8 weeks so far just tells me that this is still a young correction, right? So from the long-term perspective, even if 5,900, 6,000 was the low, I don't expect it to just like shoot straight up. Maybe we build a base here at the lows and start a new accumulation phase, but we still need to see that. So does that mean there's no trading? Does that mean there's no action to be had? Absolutely not. There's plenty to be done, and we've seen it just this week. I mean, just this week alone, there's been some really good trades. And so I'll kind of point out some of the trades that I've been making here. We saw Ripple breaking out, and you see these very fast, once they break out, I mean, it's a quick, 15% to the upside. We've seen NEO. Another one was Ethereum Classic, just yesterday. And so Ethereum Classic again versus BTC, giving you a very strong run, right? A very quick, 20% to the upside. And that's versus BTC. With BTC going up, it's even stronger, right? So if you look at the USD pair of Ethereum Classic, this all makes for some really nice trading. I mean, 30% in 2 days, I'll take that all day long, And so even if the market has this overarching kind of downtrend, kind of bearish tone, which it does, and I'll be the first to acknowledge that, there's still this counter trend rallies, these intermediate pops that are very tradable. And if you're doing that, and I know not everybody trades, and I get that, but if you're into the trading and you're doing some of that, these are some great opportunities, right? So I'm not going to shy away from that. And so there's a lot of good setups. And so I say all that just to say that, is it the low? Nobody knows. I think we're still too early. I think we need some more consolidation. But is it the low? Maybe, but we still need some time. But I thought this was a pretty good low near term, and it was certainly worth taking a shot at. And I'm glad I did. But okay, now that I gave my spiel, real quick, some housekeeping stuff. Notedinvestor.com. If you're not familiar, go check it out. Most of you guys are already the 101 cryptocurrency course you probably don't need, but if you want to learn more about how to buy Bitcoin, how to store it, how to use exchanges, that'll show you that. But the technical analysis course, I highly recommend if you're not familiar with the charts or just some of the basics about patterns and moving averages, support, resistance, trend lines, all that fun stuff, and even money management, which is the most important part of trading. Risk management and money management. I cover all that in here. So for $49, go check it out. I think it's a pretty good deal if you ask me. All right, let's see here. So BTC 8716. Hey, I'm liking what I'm seeing here, ladies and gentlemen. So far, smash that like button. Yes, thank you. Just so you guys know, I am fully, as far as my trading account goes, okay? So long-term holds, partially just because the longer-term trend's not really there. Trading accounts, full in. I've got quite a handful of positions here that I've been holding over the last couple of days, but BTC is probably the biggest right now, and so far it's looking pretty good. Now, what I want to see happen next, we're seeing that little bit of a breakout, which is good. This 84 to 86 level was really the area that I was watching. And you can see there's a little bit of an ascending triangle base that was forming over the last couple of days here with the, oops, wrong line. Hold on. And then I'll take a look at some of your alts here, guys. Give me one sec. But you can see with the series of higher lows and this very clear overhead zone right around that 84 to 8600 mark, pretty good ascending triangle base that was looking like it wanted to break out. The volume patterns were just very positive. Let me have this line here. You can just see the bullish volume patterns, and then here in this most recent pop to the upside, and a little bit of a consolidation, but the buy pressure is certainly there. And so it's good action. We're seeing some good positive news. I think the Binance fear kind of paused it a little bit, but once that cleared up, we saw almost a good correlation with that. And a lot of the names on Binance are starting to pop pretty good here too. So next from here, the next big resistance level, it doesn't necessarily mean it gets that high, but the upside wall that I'm going to be watching is that low 9K range. So 9,200 to 9,400, in and around that zone. But keep in mind, guys, if we do get that far, depends on how fast we get there, right? If it's kind of this stair-stepping way, that's way more healthy than just shooting straight up. And if we go straight up very quick, I'll probably scale out a little bit, take some profits, or tighten the stops at least very tight, just to kind of protect some of the gains that have already been made. But the good news is on the daily, this is the big wall that I've been really waiting for this thing to break above so it can finally get above this 10 EMA. So if we break out, you could see a little bit of a back test, but that could start another stair stepping up on the daily, which would be very positive. The RSI is still down at 40, and that's relatively low even in a bear trend. If this is going to remain bearish, the RSI tends to top out around 50 to 60 or so. And so that's the level I'm going to be looking for. And you can see here, this was almost a near perfect 60 touch right there. But that's where I'm going to be watching to see where this thing tops out at. So if we continue to see upside momentum on the daily, watch the RSI as we start to get, to 50, 55, 60. Keep an eye on the momentum here because it could start to peter out, and then we'll get that back testing. We need that back testing ultimately. It's just a matter of from where we see it, right? We can see this thing rally up, maybe even as high as 10K or something, and then we ultimately need to see some sort of back test to see where the support really starts coming in, and we'll go from there. So all in all, I'm still liking this action. Market's looking pretty good. Let's take a look at some altcoins here. I'm drinking some tea here, by the way. Give me a sec. And it's not, it's clean tea. It's not spiked. I don't have anything good in it. Although it's Friday, maybe later. Back testing. All right, so here's what I mean by back testing. Let me show you guys. We see it very often in these markets right here. So I'm going to digress. A little bit of a lesson. Node investor, the teacher today. So take a look at the last two pullbacks we had, right? The big ones that form those bases, right? We had that final low here around that $1,800 mark, and then we rallied very strongly, but eventually we hit a little bit of a resistance point, which was the old highs, and then we had to pull back. And this little back test down here, you never know how deep that's going to go, but it shows a lot of strength if it ends much higher, than halfway point there. So you can see that down here, right? We had that low at 3K. We rallied for a few days, and then it was kind of the drop back, and then we built a new base back in here. We've not seen that yet in this little bounce, right? All we've seen so far is the bounce. You don't always get it right here. You didn't see it, but this was a very short-term blip, and so you kind of use the 4 hours or the hourlies to get that feel there. But here we're seeing this rally. How high it goes is anyone's guess, but then you're going to want to see some sort of a pullback, and it's very healthy because it shows the next floor that gets set up, the next support level. And at the end of the day, these markets, I mean, that's your most important tool when you're trading is support and resistance levels. So that's what I mean by back testing there. Let's take a look at some of these big names. Bcash, man, this one's been pretty strong off the lows here the last couple of days. Had a nice little trade on this one, but I'm out of it now. I'm kind of just watching this one. Had that big pop off the lows and versus BTC. Let me show you here. Here it is. What I was liking here on this one is it gave you that little pop, and then it put in this little flag. Those are nice secondary entries to jump on them if you're doing these quick trades. So that's what I was looking at. I saw that pop, jumped on that here, got a few more % off of it, and then just you get either stopped out or you close it out. But versus USD, it's looking pretty good. It's just not outperforming BTC as much right now, but it's kind of basing out here. So if it can break out above that 13, let me go back to the USD pair. Where are you at? If it can start to break out above this 1330 or so, then maybe you'll start to see an outperformance on the BTC side. Litecoin. I am liking my Litecoin right now. It's looking pretty good. Continues to be strong. It's outperforming BTC here and gave you a pretty good setup on the USD chart earlier. So going to hourly here real quick on Litecoin, had that nice rally. And look at this very clean consolidation that it put in here. And once it started to break out above this little bit of the low end of the consolidation, that was kind of the signal there if you were not in it, right? This little base. Once it popped there, it started to really get going. And it's looking really strong. Now, keep in mind, RSI, well, it's not too bad here. It's only at 40 on the hourlies. Let me see here on the 4 hours. Still looking pretty good. So liking the Litecoin action so far, and good volume, right? Look at the volume on the sell side in this most recent bar. It's just not that heavy. So there wasn't a lot of sellers showing up here at this consolidation. Lisk. Yeah, Lisk is looking pretty good. We'll get to Lisk. Let's go through the big names here real quick. Let's do F. So looking at F, you can see the USD pair is moving in tandem with the markets. So BTC and some of the strong action is starting to pull a lot of these names up after a very nice, very healthy consolidation here, right? And you just never know, right? When you see a big run off the lows there, in a bearish phase, they get sold off pretty quickly, and then you just see them just fizzle out. But the fact that so many names look like this, so they had this pop and series of higher lows and just really started to tighten up, just feels much stronger here, right? So that's why I've been holding so far. Now, FBTC, not quite breaking out just yet, but looking like it wants to, so not too bad. Between the big three, I'm holding Litecoin over ETH at this point. ETH was certainly the name to hold prior to the big pull, the big sell-off, but I think Litecoin is going to be the outperformer here near term versus BTC. Ripple. Okay, I'm going to admit it. I bought some Ripple yesterday, but mostly just for trading. But it's looking pretty good. So liking the Ripple, had a nice little breakout. Let me show you what I was looking at when I picked it up here off the lows. Again, same pattern. You see that little bit of a pop. Had that nice consolidation here. And versus BTC, where's the Ripple BTC? I was just on it. I'm going to go to the hourlies here. And so that was my signal down here at the lows. You had the big volume come in, gave you that nice little bit of a flag. That's the moving average catch up. Once you see it breaking out, it's a go. And it had a very quick move to the upside, little pullback, consolidating, again, just stair-stepping its way up, letting the moving average catch up. And look at the volume that came in here on this second leg up. I mean, that was just really strong buy volume. And even this big red bar, that's just a lot of support here at the lows. And so I'm liking this one so far. I'm going to keep holding it. I just keep raising my stops on stuff like this, right? Just to capture most of the move, unless I see a really strong move to the upside into some key resistance points, then I'll just close out the trade and take profit. But the fact that the daily chart had this not big pullback and is breaking this downtrend, RSI is only at 40s. I think this one has a little bit more upside to go versus BTC. So if BTC can remain strong, this one's looking pretty good too. All right, so I covered some of the biggies. Let me go through some of the other names that I'm watching here. NIO, let's take a look at NIO. NIO has a very peculiar chart, I must say. Let me look at NIO on Bittrex here. So NIO BTC on the 4-hour. I was watching this chart the other day. I was going, what is this? I mean, it had this very clear wall. I mean, there was just this massive sell wall right above that 0.14, and just very odd to see the candles kind of coming out like this, and it gets tight, the big sell. Just an odd pattern on there. So what I've been using on NIO is the USD pair. Looks a lot cleaner and a lot stronger, but just an interesting pattern versus BTC here. It's not quite broken out yet. So you can see Bitcoin and some of the other names are starting to move out. This one's still sitting tight here, seeing a little bit of a resistance level here. But I wouldn't keep it off your radar because all around, it's still looking pretty good. A little bit of an ascending base forming here near the highs and sitting pretty tight. And the volume patterns are still really good. So I'm still liking NIO. It's just kind of pausing after that very nice move off the lows. It was, what is that, a 80% pop in basically a day and a half. And so it needs time to consolidate, but I think it still looks good. Now, if you zoom out, look at the NIO daily chart, it's trying to get back above. You can see there's a very clear wall of kind of overhead resistance that it broke down from here. It's a little bit of a base right around there. And so it's trying to get back above that. If we can start to see that, then we'll start testing that mid 100 range again, 140s, 150s or so. Again, everything just depends on what BTC does most of the time. All right, let's go through a couple more here. Lisk. We're going to look at Lisk. Very strong name, very nice. Gave you a little bit of a secondary entry here just in the last few hours. If you didn't jump on it, it's feeling a little extended. I mean, this was your shot here. So the way I like to show let me show you here. So you had the breakout. And, it's not too bad yet, but I like to be a little bit more picky in my entry points in this market, just because I'm still cautious. But you had this breakout off of this was the clear level to be watching. And once it broke out, even if you didn't catch it, these little flag patterns are nice secondary entry points. And you can see the volume really declines during that consolidation. Not a lot of selling. It's just sitting there tight. And if you zoom in on the hourlies, you can see it even better, right? You can see that little tight action there. And when it starts to move out above that, or sometimes I'll preempt it and I'll take it here on the dips, but then I'll keep a really tight stop. But otherwise, you wait for that to consolidate and break out, and then you jump on it there. Now, it hasn't moved a ton, but I'm just a little bit pickier right now, and this is already up 12% from that point. Will it go higher? It's certainly very strong, and it looks like it wants to go higher. So don't get me wrong. I'm just a little bit more risk averse right now, but this one's looking really good. Vertcoin was looking pretty good. Let's see here. Not too bad. Put a good little base in. Finally starting to edge out here. Let me go to the 1 hour charts. This is VTC on Bittrex. And so you can see this interesting consolidation that it's putting in right here. So it's needing to break out above this. What is that? 385 or so. Needs to start closing above that, but it's sitting pretty tight, so that's not bad. Can't complain. This little bit of a pullback here, saw some good volume support on that 1 hour bar. Some big volume came in there. On the 4 hour, still holding the moving average, still edging up. So I'd be watching that. This level up here is going to be the big test to watch. You can see those long wicks. A lot of sellers start showing up there, and that's that's only about 4 or 5% higher. So if it can break through that, you can see a pretty decent move here on this daily chart. And the daily chart's finally looking better, starting to round the corner here. The one is Dash. Have you guys taken a look at Dash? Dash had that nice break of this downtrend finally versus BTC. This is the Dash BTC chart. You can see it was just this very clear wall of resistance that was forming. And just here in the last couple of 4 hour bars, or last couple of days, excuse me, it's finally breaking out, turning the trend there. So I'm liking that. You can see on the 4 hour, big volume came in here off the lows and it's just starting to march its way higher. So it's looking pretty good. It's not huge percent mover like some of the other names. I mean, if you look at this, it's only 8% versus BTC, but that's outperforming BTC, which has been doing pretty good. So on the USD pair, this move has been much stronger, right? That's a 30% move on the USD pair just because BTC is going up and this one's outperforming a little bit. But I'm liking Dash. Let's see here. Another couple names that I had in mind. Let me pull up my list here. Give me 1 sec here. All right. So we covered Dash. Did you guys see Zcash? Zcash is moving up pretty nicely here. Very strong off the lows. Continues to march its way higher. And man, Zcash is looking pretty good. Once it broke that resistance level here at around 400, that 400 range or so, then just really started to get some more momentum. So this one's looking pretty good versus BTC, also an outperformer. So as long as Bitcoin remains strong, this one is just looking really nice. And you can see on the daily chart here, it's clearing up big. I was watching this more of a big inverted head and shoulder pattern on the daily. And so you can see here, this is what I was looking at, this broader pattern here with this most recent pullback, and really paying attention to that support or that resistance level at that point there. And once it broke out, that's just kind of confirming this upside momentum that it's doing. So Zcash is another one that's looking good. Zclassic. This one had a huge percent move already, but you got to keep in mind that this is a very small cap name, and these can surprise you to the upside. And after that big move, look at that consolidation that it's put in and just sitting really tight. This is on the daily chart, so it doesn't look as tight when you zoom in a little bit, but that's still a good looking chart, especially the volume that came in off the lows and it's just kind of sitting tight, sitting quiet here. Now, if you zoom in a little bit, looking at the 4 hour chart on Zclassic, you can see it's a lot choppier, right? So, keep that in mind, but still the overall pattern is there. I'd be watching this one for a potential breakout. It's still consolidating, but it's starting to get a little tighter here in the most recent days. And so I'd be watching that. An early signal would be if it can start to close above that 124, 125 level or so. But Zclassic, not too bad. Let's see, we covered Vert. We covered, we looked at Fun. I wanted to talk Funfair. How's that one doing? Was on my list earlier. It's all right. Had that big pop earlier, not really following through. A lot of these Binance names, unfortunately, have that big gap in the charts. And so you just have to ignore that. What you got to do is you got to take a little Photoshop and just draw a bunch of candles here. Make them all green, because if they're all green, the chart will just look that much better. And then you'll really want to buy it. So there you go. Look at that. Man, that chart looks really good, really tight. All right, I'm kidding. But REC is sitting here really nice after that big pop off the lows, just kind of sitting tight. I'd be watching this one because it's looking pretty good here. And let me see on the daily chart. Still not broke out above that 10 EMA. So if it does, perhaps we start to see some more momentum. That'll correspond with that yellow line that I just put there. So keep an eye on that one there. Power, yeah, power has been pretty strong off the lows here. sitting up nice, looking like it's just about to break out. Let me go to Power Bittrex. And you can see I was looking at this chart here earlier today. I still like Power here. I think it's really testing right now, looking like it wants to break out. You can see I've got a couple lines on here. Let me expand this. These are the two levels I'd be watching here on Power. On the upside, if it could break out above this key resistance level and really start to close, that's around, let's just call it 8,500 or so. And on the downside, it's normal to test the downside as long as it continues this pattern of higher lows. But if it starts to break below this 8,100 or so, I'd be really cautious, because at that point, it's going to really invalidate this pattern some and might start to look a little toppy. But right now, it looks really strong. So I'm liking this one. Yeah, QSP is another one that's been on my list here. Another name that's setting up here nice. Of course, it's got the gap. So we got to zoom out a little bit. But even this, right, off the lows, just sitting tight, letting this moving average catch up. And here it is, looking like it wants to break out. As long as it's holding par with BTC, and BTC is moving up, then that's good. And if this one starts outperforming, right, even better. And so many of these names are looking like that, and they're just really setting up. So far, so good. Ethereum Classic. Did I cover this one? Maybe not. Ethereum Classic was a trade that I was making here the last couple of days too, and this was just really nice. Let me go to Ethereum Classic. You can see just how strong this trend has been, sitting tight. But maybe I got out too early, but in all fairness, I took profits on this one today, so got to let you guys know about that one. But I still like this one. I just booked it just because it was a nice gain. But the uptrend is still in place. I'm just seeing a little bit of momentum wane here on the RSI on this second top, right? It's popping up. It's trying to go a little higher. Feels like it's losing some steam. Doesn't mean it's going to just crash here, but maybe we need some consolidation. Now, if you look at it versus BTC, similar pattern, right? RSI was starting to wane a little bit. And so I figured, hey, it was a good run. And I just flipped out into BTC on this one and letting the BTC ride for now. But I'd keep an eye on this one still, because the daily chart is still looking good. It just needs a little consolidation, in my opinion. And if it starts to break out above this little, this broader base that it's been in, then I think Ethereum Classic will see a lot higher. Just need some time. Zcash. Yeah, we covered Zcash. I'm liking the Zcash right now. 0x. Let's take a look at 0x here. So 0x, I was really hoping this would bounce off the lows a little bit more than it has, and it hasn't. Hey, look at this. This is what we call, this is a very rare pattern, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Golden Gate Bridge pattern. You only see this once in a blue moon, and you don't want to see it very often, because it means your exchange is down and there is no charts. But man, that whole Binance thing, it just goes to show you that our ecosystem is just not ready. I mean, I'm just glad it worked out. I really am, but it just shows you that. Can you imagine, like, if your stock account went down and you weren't able to trade stocks for 2 days? Like, oh man, the chaos. But anyway, 0x power just broke. All right, we're gonna have to go take a look at that one here. But 0x, let me zoom out a little bit. Let me go to Bitfinex, something a little bit cleaner looking. I'm all over the place here. You can tell it's Friday, guys. It's been a long week. We got to have a little bit of fun here, because man, we've had quite the week. You're still here with me, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate it. Hit that like button. So looking at 0x here, I want to see some more upside. It's not looking as strong as I had hoped off of this low. And you can see it just rallied right into that resistance there and just struggling to get above that. So I'd be watching that. Let's see here. Power. Somebody mentioned power broke. Let's see if it finally broke out here. BNB. Power BTC. Yeah, looking nice. Let's go to Bittrex. There it goes. It's breaking out. Very nice chart. Can't complain. Wabi. Let's go take a look at the Wabi. So Wabi here, again, just kind of sit tight off the lows. That's the 1 hour or the 4 hour. Just real choppy, not following through as much. Oh, here's another name that we forgot to mention, Sub. And this one had that nice little rally and broke out above resistance once the trading resumed on Binance. And you can see that big volume came in. And it's just pulling back right now, right to the breakout point. Very normal to see that. And I'm going to see this moving average, see if it can catch up. And maybe we form a little bit of a flag pattern here at this level and then keep going from there. But that one's looking pretty good. Omise Go is looking pretty good here. It's very strong. Got a good name here. Let me go to a different exchange. Sorry about that. But, you know, similar to a lot of the market here, but you can see on the USD pair has just been kind of following suit with the market, stair-stepping its way up. But all around, it's looking pretty good off the lows here. Now that level in that low $12 range, that low $12 range needs to hold, but it hasn't broke out versus BTC yet. I mean, it's still consolidating, sitting tight. Let's go to Bitcoin here real quick. How's it looking right now? Yeah, just still sitting tight, but not too bad. Can't complain. I mean, just marching its way higher. I'm getting a little cautious here, to be honest. We've had this nice run. We've continued to test. I'm still holding, but I'm just continuing to raise the stops. Got to protect the gains that we've seen in the last couple of days, and go from there. But all in all, it's looking pretty good. Yeah, Digibyte was looking pretty good here. Let's go with that. Look at that. Nice strong move off the lows. Good pullback. Setting up a nice secondary entry here right around these levels. So that's really good. We'll see if it can follow through to the upside. But, man, that's not bad. And if you look at the 4-hour charts, just kind of letting the moving averages catch up. Normal consolidation. Looking really strong here. How's the daily look? Yeah, that daily is let me clean that out, but it's basically testing that. Let me clean. There we go. Just now getting above that moving average on the daily, and kind of went flat for a few days and starting to change the momentum here. So let's see if we can see some follow through. But Digibyte's looking good. Let's see here. ICX. Yeah, we'll look at bread and ICX. I think I covered Lisk already. And Lisk is still strong. Looks good. It's hard to say. Say that fast. Lisk looks good. All right. ICX, again, was one of the stronger names early on after that conference. Just kind of fizzled out. And then, of course, the market got hit, and that didn't help. But I'm not liking this so far. Had that nice move off the low, but I got to see some follow through. Now, I get it. Binance and that whole fun. You can see here I filled in my chart, so sitting tight, but I want to see some more upside right now. I'm not liking the lack of upside because there's just so many other names that are looking stronger. EOS. Let me go to EOS on Bitfinex. And this one's good. I mean, it's just kind of stair-stepping its way up versus BTC. See if we can get a follow through here. Otherwise, that's going to be a little bit of a double top on the 1 hour if it breaks down below this neckline down here. But let me see on the 4 hour. That's just really strong. Man, look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 4-hour bars in a row. Can't complain. But it's right at resistance. You can see that. I mean, it's basically testing this level here. So it would not be unusual to see a little bit of a pullback or a pause and let it kind of consolidate. But looking very good. Now, EOS on the USD pair. Very nice pattern. Just broke out here. And continuing to march higher. Good volume, too. So I'm liking that. Question here real quick before I keep going. Somebody was asking, when you look at a day trade and it broke out, when do you take profits? And that is a good question. And I would say that the hardest part of trading is probably the sell side. I mean, the buy side is not that hard. You set your stops, you look at for entries, you kind of look about when do you sell, right? And there's a couple of ways to do it. You can sell at a fixed percent. So you just say, hey, some sort of like 3-to-1 odds ratio or something like that, right? So if your stop loss is 3%, hey, if I hit 9% to the upside, I'm going to just take profits, right? That's kind of the simplest, most rudimentary way to do it. Not always the best way to do it, though, because what I do generally is I will look for resistance points as well as some of the technicals, right? So if we start hitting a resistance point and your technicals are starting near these oversold conditions, or you're just really stretched to the upside versus some of the moving averages, I'll start selling into strength. And I like to sell into strength. Generally, you'll leave some on the table, but that's usually the best way to go. Or you just really put in a tight stop and then you let yourself get stopped out. So that's one way to do it. The other way is you look at price volume action. So when I see a big volume reversal at the top, let's say it's green, 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 and at the very top you see a big volume and then maybe that followed by a red sell. Those are some sell signals to look for. A lot of it will depend on the time frame, right? If I see that on a 30-minute, it's not going to carry as much weight as if I see that on a 1 hour or 4 hour. Then you really got to pay attention to that. So there's different ways to do it. There's Fibonacci extensions. You can look at that. There is measured moves. So if you do a like a bear flag or a bull flag, or an inverted head and shoulders or something like that, there's ways to do measured moves, and you can measure upside targets. And man, you'd be surprised at how often those come really close to that target. And so there's a couple of ways to do the selling. I've mentioned it before and I'm still working on it, but I'm going to be doing a more in-depth trading video course that is going to cover that sort of thing, right? How do you measure? How do you set your sell targets, your stop loss targets? What do I look for before entering the trade, and when do I get in? Just the finer points in some of the actual application, right? Reading the charts, understanding technical analysis, that's like step one. But then you got to apply it, and then it's going to be the more advanced version, I guess you can say, of that. But EOS still looking pretty good. Bread, let me see. We didn't look at bread, sorry. This was one that I was really liking back here, was setting up nice before the big fall down here, right? We had just finally broke below this support, but it was sitting tight. Maybe we can get back above. Right now, the momentum still hasn't shifted. I mean, you look at some of these other names versus BTC, and they're at least holding par or heading north. And this one's not. This one's just still kind of one of the weaker names right now at these levels. And so be interesting to see if they can turn it around. I think the project's good. I'd like to see them gain some traction, but right now this chart's just not one of the stronger ones. Let's see here. Z Classics fork. Yeah, the Z Classic chart we looked at earlier, that's really good. Is there a savage BTC dip imminent? There is a dip that's going to happen. It's just a matter of from what price points. And so if you're trading, just keep some stops in place. That's all you got to do. Don't worry about it too much. Now, if you're a longer term holder and you bought the very lows, then keep some stops in place, or figure out, do I start scaling out at some strength, because we need a dip. We can continue higher. It's just a matter of how high, but then eventually we need a pretty good pullback of a couple of days or something to test the support levels, right? And we just don't know where that's going to happen. And right now, it still looks strong. Let me go back to the other charts here. Kind of just marching its way steadily. Yeah, I mean, it's still looking pretty good. So can't complain off the low that we've seen here on BTC. It's been a very nice rally, but so you can see my first support or resistance level, if we get that high, if we can really get a breakout here, 90, that 9,000, 9,100, 9,200, kind of that range, that's really where I'd see some of the pullback really started to take place. Above that, if we get that high, right, going into 10K is going to be a big resistance level, and it's a psychological number, kind of a big round number, and so I'd be cautious kind of going into that, but ultimately we will. How high it goes before we see that is anyone's guess, and until it shows those signals, I'm going to stay with it, and I'm going to keep doing the trading. But how high does it go, right? Does it do one of those? It's just anyone's guess at that point. You can do fib retracement on that. Actually, let's do that here real quick. I mean, off this move here, we've already come up pretty good. You can see, look at that. That lines up pretty well. So the 618 level on this bounce from the break, so you can see off the bounce, we've cleared the 382 level. That probably wasn't going to be much of a wall anyway. But if we can break out, you can see the 618 level happens to be just under 9,400. And then above that, the 786 level is 10.3. And so that lines up pretty closely with those two lines that I have on the chart. So it would not surprise me to see some big selling start showing up as we hit one of these two levels. All right. Climbing the wall of worry. Yes, we are. And it's a good thing because it'll surprise to the upside if it continues this way. Let's look at Cardano here real quick. I'm going to go to Bittrex. Cardano, Bittrex. Nice little move off the 4-hour. Finally had that really strong. It was one of the early movers off the low and then just kind of fizzled out. Didn't really follow through. But now we're seeing some pretty good action here in the last couple of 4-hour bars. You can see that. I mean, had that one red, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 4-hour bars in a row. So very nice. Good action off the lows here. Looking like it wants to go higher finally off this dip. But you can see the daily chart still needs to confirm, but it's starting to round the base here on the daily. So not bad. Not too bad here. Ripple. I think we did Ripple at the beginning. Let's do Ripple again, just because I'm holding some Ripple here on a trade, and I'm still liking my Ripple trade. Ripple is looking pretty good here. So far, so good. Nice volume. Gave you that very needed pause. Let the moving average catch up. And it looks like we're starting to see some more upside follow through on Ripple versus BTC. You can see that little pullback here. And now it's starting to jump. We got to clear this level here on the BTC side. But so far, looking very good on Ripple. Let's see here. Let me flip through a couple more of these names. We did EOS. We did ICX, Cardano. So let me ask you guys while I'm doing this, are you guys feeling more bearish, more bullish here? What's your thoughts? Is this a dead cat bounce? Are we going to see a new low? Or was that the low? What are your thoughts here? Let me see. Did we do Cardano, Zen, and OMG? We did all three of those. No, wait. Did I do Zen? I did Z Classic. I don't know if I did Zen. I'll do Zen. What are your thoughts, guys? What do you think? Are we was that the low? Are we done, or is this thing gonna go lower? So you're bullish till 9,200. Yeah, that seems to be a pretty good price point. Very bullish. Good. BTC's take it off. Oh, look at that. It's almost 8,800. We didn't do salt. I'll do that. Yep, you thought that was the low. Yeah, I think we need to go about to the 9K range, maybe a little higher, then pull in a little bit. We're just really strong right now, though. RSI on Ripple, you guys. I got in Ripple early though, so I'm not saying buy it here, but it still looks strong. I'll go back to the Ripple chart here in a minute. I'm just kind of reading some of the thoughts on BTC in the market here. You think that was 100% the low? And that was a pretty dang good low. Pretty good low if you ask me, but who knows? Maybe we retest it or something. Who cares? Just buy. Oh, you heard it's going down to 36. Is that possible? Yeah, anything's possible. And longer term, it certainly could. I think I did the long-term fib retracement levels on my last live stream, and I think the low case I had was like the 5K 4,800 level or so, 4,500. 3K would really surprise me. Cool. Oh, look at this. 8,800 BTC. Really starting to get going now. Good action. Good stuff. You know, as soon as I did this live stream, one of you guys went out and just bought a bunch of Bitcoin. So thank you. Thank you for doing that, ladies and gentlemen. But so far, I'm liking what I'm seeing. Doing good. Just keep in mind, it's a big move off the low. How high it goes is anyone's guess, but you know my targets. You know where I stand, and I think it's doing pretty good. Let's take a look at that Ripple chart here. There was a question on the RSI, and I'd like to cover some RSI thoughts. Well, let me do Zen here real quick. Somebody was asking for Zen, and I just didn't talk about it. Totally ignored you. All right, let me see. So Zen, I was liking Zen, the daily chart. And if you zoom out here, right, this is the daily chart on Zen BTC. And you can see how tight it was just getting here, just testing these resistance points. And it's still looking pretty good, but it's just getting real choppy in and around these levels. And so I want to see some more upside follow through. But if it can get going, that's a nice big base that is really starting to put in. All right, Ripple, to do an RSI lesson on Ripple. So check this out. So on the Ripple side, if you look at the big picture, right, the daily, it's coming off of a low of around 37 or so. And so far, it's only up to 48. So that's not too bad. It still has more room to go. Even if this is going to remain a bearish trend and it's just a counter trend rally, the RSI tends to top out around 60. And so let me put the line on 60. So you can see that. And you can see in these last couple pullbacks, right, 60 and then 55. So once you start to get into that range, once we start to clear the 50s and we're in the low 50s range, then maybe that's it, right? Maybe that's the whole thing and it just pops to that level. But if you go to the 4-hour chart, the momentum is really starting to get going. We're at 67. When it comes to crypto, RSI at 67 is not overbought, right? In the stock market, you hit 70 and that's considered overbought, and anything above that. In crypto, a lot of these moves really don't get going until they clear that 60 to 70 mark, and then they really get going. And so I'd be looking at like 80 or something as a higher reading. Obviously, it goes higher when the overall trend is much stronger. On the 1 hour, right? You got to remember, I picked it up down here, right? So I was picking up Ripple at that level. The RSI then was only at the 60 mark, so not anywhere near overbought. Would I be buying it here? I'd be way more cautious here. You could still probably could. The buy really was right here. It was this little pullback, and that was the buy there. But even if you picked it up, right, you've got a 3 to 4% stop loss, which is very reasonable when it comes to trading. It's not that big of a deal. Obviously, it depends on what portion of the portfolio goes into that, but not bad, you know. So RSI here now, if it goes higher, we're going to want to see this RSI confirm to the upside. Otherwise, you're going to start to see a little bit of a bearish divergence, and then could still go higher, but that'd probably be my signal to really start tightening the stops. But it's outperforming BTC so far. And on the USD, right, you look at the USD pair, it's really strong. I mean, it's just still going, still looking pretty good. Now that I've said that, it's going to crash. I better go take profits. But here's the level I'm looking at as far as the first big wall, right? Kind of sub $1, and we're getting really close. So actually, it might not be a bad idea for me to go raise my stops on this guy. But on the daily, though, that's what I'm liking. I think if it breaks out, we can still see some more movements, maybe to the 130s, 140s. All right, so let's see here. A couple others. BTC, $8,800. We did NEO. Let's do a couple more here on the big. I know some of you guys are just joining, and so let me cycle through some of the names I did earlier at the beginning here. We'll start with NEO. Yeah, we'll do QuantStamp. I like QuantStamp too, so let's take a look at that. Man, we're seeing some good action here on this live stream. Not too bad. Crypto markets just never sleep. So what I was talking about in NEO, the NEO BTC chart just is a very odd pattern. If you look at the 4-hour, these candles just kind of pulling in, just a very strange looking pattern. There's a very clear wall at that above that 0.14 level, but the USD pair of NEO is still setting up. It's still looking really good. It just had an 80% move off the low, and it's consolidating right now. A little bit of an ascending triangle pattern. So if it breaks out above that 117, 118 mark, then we can see the next leg up in NEO. So I still like it, but I'd be looking at the USD pair is kind of your signal there. It's still underperforming BTC until this one breaks out here. Let's see here. QuantStamp. Good question on the stop loss. I will answer that. The short answer is it depends. Sometimes my stop's tight and I'll just get stopped out and then I let it go. Other times it undershoots, and if your stop gets hit and it's like way oversold, I'll just wait it out and get a bounce and sell into the bounce. Let's see here. So looking at the QSP here, man, that's a nice little flag pattern that is putting in off that big run it had. What percent move was that? Good double bottom too on the low. So you can see that that's not too bad. It's about 50% move off the low, sitting tight. Obviously, there was that break with the Binance pause, but looking like it wants to break out here. The volume patterns here have been really strong, so I'm liking this one. Looking pretty good on the 1 hour. Just it's a little choppier. How big is this range here? That's not too bad. It's a 4 or 5% range, but sitting tight. So I definitely be watching this one. CND, yeah, let's take a look at that one. I haven't looked at this one today. This is another one that was really strong off the lows here. This move was 40%, kind of pulling in a little bit. And keep in mind, these are the BTC equivalents. And so they're pulling in a little bit. They're maybe not shooting out the gate, but that's because Bitcoin's, still moving up, staying strong. And so as long as they're at least sitting flat, then you're okay. If they really start pulling back behind BTC, then you're just better off being in BTC at that point until it decides to reverse. But not too bad here, just kind of sitting tight. We never looked at salt. Someone was asking about salt earlier. Salt, so I put in that pretty good double bottom and then really started to rally, but just fizzled out. And I didn't like the sell volume that really started to come in off the rally. So you can see all these red bars, just kind of this selling that showed up. That's a lot of distribution there. You want to see the opposite of that off of the lows. You want to see smaller red and some stronger green buying there, just to show you that the bounce has legs right now. I'd be more cautious on this one. Definitely not one of the stronger names you can see here. Just hasn't rallied as much as some of the others. Lumens, let's take a look at that one. That one was looking pretty good. Stellar Lumens. Nice little move in the last hour here. Pretty good. After that little pullback, very constructive pullback, looking like it wants to go higher. Lumens looking pretty good here. And if we clear this little level here, that's probably going to be another leg up. If I had to bet, I say you are going to see more upside on this one. The next resistance level is right here. We're just below that. Not even a big percent. What is that? 3%. That's nothing. So if it really gets going, you can probably see another 8, 9, 10% on that guy versus BTC. So not too bad. Oh, District. Let's take a look at that. I haven't looked at District. Nice. I like these volume patterns here. On when you see off the lows, look at that big pop to the upside. When you see that strong green candle with 2 times average volume, you got to pay attention to that. And then look at how that settled out for 2 4-hour bars. Very quiet volume, looking like it wants to break out. So pretty good. Not too bad here off the lows. Looking very strong, looking like it wants to go. Maybe it'll test this upside here. If it tests these prior peaks there, which those are 2 big double tops right now, but if it tests that, well, that's only 5%. So let's see if we can get some more upside on that. Daily chart, let's see here. I did sub. Yeah, I think sub looks really strong. Daily chart on District here just still needs to confirm. You can see that blue line I posted. It's kind of hard to see. But that's just above the 10 EMA on the daily. So getting above that would really start to shift the momentum on this one. So that'll be good. Digix DAO. Yeah, one of the few that just kind of did its own thing, but maybe it's the gold play, But yeah, this one's looking really strong. So it had that nice pullback, and it's very constructive, but so far it's holding the broader uptrend. Very nice. This is crazy, that big volume right at the top there. So once you see that, that's kind of climactic volume, especially after it's done this. It's had that big run, big up move, and then it pops just that much at the very top of a move, right? This is already 380%, and then it goes up crazy. gives you 700%. Usually that's kind of the end, at least for now. It needs to pause, and that's what we're seeing, right? We're seeing some consolidation. It needs to just do some sideways action, but the big picture still looks good. I mean, the broader trend is still there. Do I think constant outages are Binance or anything to be concerned about? Absolutely. Counterparty risk is just still very real in the crypto world, so keep that in mind, guys. I just maintain a discipline of don't ever put 100% of your funds in any one exchange, and we saw a good example of that. Now Binance, they came back. It's not like they shut down or was hacked, but still, I mean, there was no trading for a couple of days, and that's if that's the only place you do your trading, that's frustrating, right? Because we were rallying at least, and at least the market was going up during that. It could have been way worse, and the market was crashing during that, and that would be really bad. But yeah, it's still a risk. Now, I like Binance and I use them, but you just got to remember that there's no 100% in anything. So just be cautious. There's no FDIC insurance, none of that. There's no guarantees. So just be careful. EOS, we covered this one earlier, but EOS is looking good. I like EOS. It's trying to turn the corner here on the daily chart. If you look at the 4-hour, just most recent hours, right, really getting strong off the lows. Let me go to the other exchanges, but has been outperforming Bitcoin off of this low. It put a nice little bit of a double bottom here and just really starting to rally there. On the USD pair, EOS is breaking out earlier today and just really following through. So looking pretty good on that one. Yeah, Bitcoin Gold, it almost had a similar pattern to Bcash the other day. It was really interesting to see that one pop like that. But you can see it's got a nice little bear. I keep saying bear. Man, I'm still wearing my bear goggles. Hold on. Let me take my bear goggles off. That's got a nice little bull flag. And I want to see this trend broken, but right now it's really setting up pretty good. Now, this big green bar, that's a big selling wick. So just be cautious there. But all around, the broader pattern is still looking pretty good. And maybe this is my bias. I'm just not a huge fan of Bitcoin Gold, so maybe I don't trade it for that reason. But you can't argue with this trend off the lows. That's super strong, and I have nothing against Bitcoin Gold. It's usually just not on my radar. Maybe it should be now. All right, so IOTA, ladies and gentlemen, smash that like button. So checking out IOTA, man, it's been choppy. I was watching IOTA setting up this rule type pattern. It's still there, so I think you got to keep an eye on it. I mean, the daily chart has been getting a little tighter here, trying to round out a little bit of a base there on IOTA. And upside confirmation for me would be if we can really start to close above this level here. Wrong line. There we go. All right, so we can start to get above that level. That would really start to change the tone here for this one, especially after putting in this nice, couple of weeks of just sitting tight in and around this range versus BTC. Obviously, versus USD, it's not going to look as nice, but that's because of the market. But it's rallying pretty good off the lows here, and it's following suit with Bitcoin. So IOTA, I'd be watching it. I think it's looking pretty good all around. Funfair. I took a very quick look at Fun earlier. Let's take a look at Fun on Bitfinex USD. Not quite confirming yet to the upside. Still seeing some selling pressure when it tries to rally. You can see that big red bar there. Let me go back to that. In the 4-hour, this is the 4-hour BTC pair. You can just see there's just a lot of selling right now. So I'd be cautious on this one. Had a good move off the low, and it was one of the early movers. I mean, that was 65%, and at the peak was even more than that. But since then has just kind of fizzled out, and we're seeing other names kind of pick up the momentum there. Let me flip over here real quick. BTC still going. Not too bad. I'd like to see a little bit more volume coming in. These are 4-hour bars. You can see volume starting to wane a little bit, but this most recent bar, it's still got over 3 hours left to go, so you can't really factor that volume bar, but the one before it wasn't too strong. The daily, or the 1-hour, very healthy volume patterns here, just off the lows, big volume starts coming in, and the big moves up. So far, so good. Can't complain. Feeling much better than I was just 4 days ago. I was just so ready for this thing to be over. And I mentioned it in one of my private live streams, and I told the group when we were up here. I was like, I'm tired of this grinding. Just just rip the band-aid off already and smash it so we can get back to trading. And oh boy, be careful what you wish for sometimes. We got the smashing. The band-aid was certainly ripped. But hey, we're back to trading. We got the low. It's all good. And we'll see where it goes from here. All right, let's see here. BNB. Let me see here. BNB. I haven't looked at that one since the little shutdown. So I'm going to go BNB BTC pair first. Man, had that good little pop off that after the reopen there. So that's looking pretty good. It is looking strong and just finding some support on the dips. But wow, it's basically rallied right up to this point. But man, it looks like it wants to go higher. So BNB. If you're a believer in Binance, why not hold a little BNB, especially if it's outperforming Bitcoin? If it's outperforming Bitcoin, then not too bad. There's the 1 hour, just kind of sitting tight right now. All right. Oh, Zcoin. Let's look at Zcoin. Nice. Okay, seen some good action here in these last couple of hours. Is it breaking out yet? Not quite. Oh, that's looking really good on that 4 hour chart. Look at that volume. I mean, just compare this to some of the other names that we've been watching, right? So I talk about volume a lot, guys, and it just adds to the story, right? And so when you see this much green and the sell bars are smaller volume, it just shows you some accumulations happening here on this name. And you just got to pay attention to those. When I start seeing names like that, it's just good. Now, Zcoin is one that I mentioned in my names to watch for 2018 newsletter at the start of the year, and still looking good. Look at the daily chart here on the BTC, still setting up, and it's looking like it wants to start shifting the momentum here. So look how quiet the volume got on this part. I mean, there are not a lot of sellers, and Zcoin is still relatively small cap, so could see some good upside. Z Classic did that one earlier, and that one's looking really good too. Now, granted, this one has had a huge run, thousands % move, but it's really setting up. And again, this one's not a huge market cap name either. What is that? Just huge run. Okay, you get the point. But the chart is still setting up really nice and looks like it wants to break out here. You can see the line I put on the chart. And that's the level I'd be watching. It's just sitting real tight here, starting to form a nice little pattern here, consolidation under that resistance point. And that's kind of your early signal. If it gets above that it might start breaking out above this broader trend, but still looking pretty good. Okay, we'll do a few more here. Why is NEO so weak? NEO is just consolidating, in my opinion. It was up 80%, was one of the stronger names off the low, and I think it's just kind of sit tight. Ubic. This is Ubic 4 hour. Man, hasn't had much of a bounce off the lows here. What is this here? 20%? I mean, no one can complain about 20%, but just so many other names are much stronger than this one at this point. And it's just a little choppier. Now, I know this is a smaller volume name, but not as strong. I was really liking it up here. I was trying to set up. Obviously, the market messed that all up. But it was looking like it was about to break out, and then we saw the big selling and just kind of did some technical damage to this chart. So it just needs a little bit more time. Quantum. Man, Quantum had a good move earlier. How's it looking? Following through, consolidating a little bit. Yeah, so I had that nice move up earlier. Good volume patterns coming in there, just kind of pulling back right now. I can't complain about this one. This is the normal consolidation. Look at the 4 hour. Big volume pop, letting that moving average catch up. If we can start to hold this level here, man, I'd be looking at this one. Maybe I might have to pick this up on a secondary entry for a trade. But looking pretty good all around, and especially the big picture. I still like this daily. We had some damage done here in the last week or so, but the broader pattern, you got to remember, this was one of the huge movers in late December, had that big run, and since then it's just really been consolidating that move. But this one's looking pretty good. Let me drop a 50 on here. Yeah, it's not bad. All right. Is Bitcoin out of the woods? So I've been going for just a little over an hour, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm gonna wrap it up soon. But before I do, I want to, for those of you that just joined, um, I want to kind of give you my thoughts on Bitcoin again and just some of those bigger picture questions, right? Is this the bottom? Was that the low? And the short answer is that was a low, and it was a very good low. And I expected to see some pretty decent rally following that pullback. There was a lot of different ways to analyze it, but I will go to my chart that I posted in the newsletter I sent out a couple days ago. Why I was buying the low, and to keep in mind, mostly for trading at this point, because the longer term picture has not turned just yet, and so I think there's probably not a big rush to go all in from a long-term hodl perspective. I think we're going to be in more of a trading environment. But there was a lot of things to look at, right? The fact that we were 70% off the highs, that's massive. I mean, at some point you're going to bounce. The fact that on the 10 EMA on the daily chart, we were 35% stretched below that at one point. That's when we were hitting that 6,000 area. RSI went from one extreme to the other. We went from 90 down to 25. Historically, it tends to bottom when RSI hits under 30. And once we saw the reversal start taking place, the buy volume on that was massive. It was the biggest volume, daily volume we'd seen in over 2 years, going back to the big bear in 2015. And so there was just so many signals that told me, hey, that's a pretty good low. Is it the low? Is it the ultimate low? It's way too early to say. So is Bitcoin out of the woods yet? The short answer is I don't think the crypto market is out of the woods yet. But am I buying? Am I trading? Absolutely, right? I started to scale in once we started to bounce off the lows, 6,200, 6,400. I was mostly buying some of the stronger names I liked, Neo, Bitcoin, Litecoin, and then here in recent days have been trading some of the other alts and have been outperforming Bitcoin. And so with Bitcoin going up and the alts going up more, it's been some good trading. But ultimately, we're going to need to do one of these, right? Regardless of where this thing fizzles out, where it goes here or whether it goes here, we're going to need some sort of back testing or some sort of new floor and then going from there. So then that will start to change the bigger term picture. Right now, the bigger term downtrend, it's still this direction. We need to do a period of sideways action. Might be a little choppy, but we need to do some sideways action before we can start to round a bigger base here at the lows. But so far, I'm bullish, especially from a trading perspective, more short term. I'm liking what I'm seeing, and I think it's worth holding for now, right? I mean, that's basically it. Now, will I start taking profits? Yes. I'm going to scale out as we start to hit some of these resistance points because just got to protect your gains, man. I mean, we've had a good trade, and so I will be taking some profits as we either one start to reverse big or we start to scale in, and and that's more the trading. I'm talking trading here, so. The longer term holds that I've maintained, I'm not going to be scaling out of those. But the trading accounts, I'm going to keep it more active, and we've had some pretty large percent gains here in the last several days, and so you just got to protect that. So those are my thoughts. The other thought too, since I'm on this topic, the weekly chart. Let me go back to the BTC weekly. Keep in mind that in the big scheme of things, we're seeing finally a nice green week. We need it to, and it's a big volume week, and it's just very bullish. There's no doubt about it. But in the big scheme of things, right, after a massive run like we saw, this correction is only 8 weeks old, and even shorter than that if you factor out this week. But you got to keep it in mind because that was the big wick. 8 weeks old. That's not a lot of time in terms of consolidation following a parabolic move. And so even if that was the low, you got to give it some more time. You got to pause and let it consolidate, maybe rally, and then back test a little bit, and then start a new accumulation phase. But I'm positive all around. I mean, the support here that it touched corresponds. So there's reasons to believe it was a good low. Is it the low? It's anyone's guess. If it's not, the next level I'd be watching is right here. sub 5K, right? And that's kind of the low that I think is probably going to be the low if it really sells off again. But for now, I'm staying long. I'm staying bullish. I'm taking the trades one at a time, and I'm taking my profits when I see them, just because I'm still a little cautious, but no doubt I'm feeling a lot better. All right, let's see here. A couple more things. Relative strength index is RSI. Yep, thank you for answering that question. The Bitcoin bull is brewing. Beware the Ides of March. Oh, no. So I do have a group. So someone's asking about trade signals. I do maintain a relatively small, well, maybe not small. It's not tiny, but it's not like thousands of people or anything either. But I do have a Slack group that I maintain, and I open that up about once a month to new members. But the first people that get notified are my course buyers, just because you got to have some technical analysis. You got to have some understanding of those things to really get a feel for, or really to get value out of it, right? Otherwise, it may be a little too much. And I've had people tell me it's too much, but it's not a crazy trading. It's just my signals. I'll give you a couple of examples. Some of the trades we've made in the last couple of days that I've posted. Ripple was one, jumped on Ripple here. Ethereum Classic was another one. But I did close out of that today. Bought some Ethereum Classic, but it had a nice little move. And maybe I got a little too early, but it's okay. I flipped into BTC on this one. And so I sold out into BTC. And so far, it's looking like that was a pretty good move. I think we saw a little bit of a double top near term. RSI was starting to diverge on this one as it started to rally. So took profits on that. But there's been some good moves. Litecoin, still holding that, still holding BTC, and just some other names. So if you're interested, go to nodeinvestor.com. If you're already a course buyer, then you'll get an email probably in the next week or so for the next round. I may start opening it up to the newsletter subscribers. So if you're getting the newsletter, then that's another way to look at it too. I love you guys too. You guys are awesome. 88.79. Let's go Bitcoin. Man, we needed this. Last week was no fun. I was just waiting for it to get over with. I was like, come on, let's get back to some trading here. Yeah, Verge. Let's do Verge here because I was going to show you guys Verge. Another name that I was liking earlier today. And I think I have my Verge chart marked up on this guy. So let's go here. Might already be on the chart. And yeah, you can see. So this is, for example, there's one of the charts I shared with the group here. But I was watching Verge. It was kind of starting to take out this longer downtrend, and this was kind of the area I wanted to start closing above. It's really testing it, but it's not following through as much. But keep in mind, this is the BTC pair, so it's at least holding par. And so Verge USD is sitting just fine. So if you go to Verge USD, it's looking good, right? It's positive, pulling back, still looking strong. So can't complain about this one. All around, a good name. But I think if it breaks out against Bitcoin, then this will really start to get going. So Verge is looking pretty good. OST. Man, this was one that I was trading last time here, but I haven't looked at this one in a while. Yeah, Bitcoin Gold. I don't know. I didn't do any research on that one, but I saw it running, and it almost corresponded exactly with the Bitcoin Cash move. Very similar. But it's running. OST here, just sitting real tight. Not a lot to do yet. I'd be waiting for some more upside on this one, but at least it's holding par. But it's just sitting real tight. Hasn't seen a lot of action. It was looking pretty good back in here. I was really liking it, and I actually did a little bit of trading on it here, but not really at the top of my list right now. I'll do ICX. We did one earlier, but kind of covered it quickly again. Not seeing as much upside as I would like. Was one of the big movers off the lows, but just kind of sitting tight here. So I want to see this thing break out. The level I'd be watching here versus BTC, that's kind of the early signal. If it can start to turn the corner and start getting back above that, that'll be good. And then ultimately clearing this. Long term, I still like ICX. I like the project. I think it's good. I had this big run, and then post conference, I think there was a little bit of sell the news scenario. People maybe were expecting a little too much out of that. And so we've kind of fizzled out, and then it didn't help that the market got hit too. So it was a little bit of a double whammy there. And it just hasn't been as strong off the lows as some of these others. So, all right. I think that's going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining another live edition of the Node Investor. Always a pleasure to have you guys. I did cover Litecoin earlier. The short of it is I like Litecoin. I'm holding it, so still looking pretty good. But that's going to be it for tonight, guys. Keep an eye on Bitcoin. Watch those levels I mentioned. The alts are strong. Things are looking good. But, of course, BTC is going to drive the direction of this market a lot. So just keep an eye on this. If we start to see some big sell signals show up, just remember, protect your gains, protect your profits. Hey, man, we should have a 9K party soon, right? It's looking like it's doing. If we do 10K, oh, man, we'll have a 10K party. But until then, let's take it one day at a time. Don't get too crazy. Don't go FOMOing into your trades. Just maintain the disciplines, guys. Remember, we're coming off of a big selling, and so far, so good. Till next time, take care. Thanks for watching, everyone.